Ready? Play.
Welcome back to Painting Lines. Last week we discussed the history of the Shanghai Masters, and this week we'll be covering the this year's tournament, just recapping the winner and the big events from the past week. So, just to kick us off, Erik, was there any like one thing that stood out to you from this tournament?
Yeah, one thing that did stand out that was probably my favorite moment of the whole tournament was when Djokovic was giving his runner-up speech. And you know how they usually thank the teams, right? And he went over and he just was like, I'd like to congratulate Sinner's team. I recognize a few familiar faces there. Like, well done, guys. And I thought that was hilarious because he's like finding humor in that. And then he also shouted out Roger Federer, who was in the stands, and then Carlos Alcaraz, who was there too. And I thought that was pretty interesting that he was watching the final. And like, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he just like
Even though he
stuck
went
around
out
for it.
earlier. Yeah, stuck around. I feel like you don't normally see that.
Yeah, I also saw that Sinner made a comment about that was like, "Oh, we got like five legends here. Like I know Federer was watching and Alcaraz, and I played a legend, so he's like, there's legends all around."
Yeah, yeah. He was like, I'm trying to keep up here.
Exactly,
I know.
exactly. But
I would not put Alcaraz as legend status yet, though.
I mean, it's crazy though when you think about it, right? Like
Future legend.
he's won already what four Grand Slams and multiple Masters 1000, and he's 21. So definitely seems to be on that path. I don't know if you'd yeah put him there yet, just because of the longevity aspect, but
Yeah. Yeah. He just like put him up there with Federer and Djokovic.
yeah, exactly. He's like, ah, they're pretty
Crazy.
much the same,
Yeah.
right?
You can put him up there with Murray. No, I'm
Yeah, I
kidding.
mean, maybe. I don't think so, but
Yeah,
maybe.
I know you. I know you. I know you don't think so.
But anyway, should we hop into the first round here?
Yeah. Well, what do you think about Alcaraz being in the crowd? Do you feel any different way, or you just kind of, he could do his thing?
I mean, he can do whatever he wants, right? I mean, he doesn't have to play in any of these smaller tournaments in the lead up
Hmm.
to Paris. He has no need really for points. Like, really, especially like Alcaraz, he's in a weird situation right now, right? Because usually you'd think, oh, the number two player in the world would be fighting to try to kind of get to be the number one player in the world by the end of the year, but that's not really within reach. Like Sinner already pretty much has that wrapped up. He may actually already have it wrapped up.
Hmm.
And so it's like, what's driving Alcaraz to finish out this year? Yes, he's going to play in the big tournaments and try to win them, but he has no motivation to maybe play in these smaller tournaments because it's like, what's this year's already kind of wrapped up for him.
Right. Yeah. I was wondering if he was doing it in almost like a support, like a friendship thing for Sinner, because that they flew together on the private plane last tournament. Or if he was just there to watch good tennis. Like, hey, I'm gonna stick around and watch this final.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
he
also,
wasn't really there to
I,
support either player.
I think also he was sitting next to Federer, right?
Yeah, he was. He
So I mean,
was.
maybe he got like the chance to sit next to Federer, and he's like, well, that's a cool opportunity. I won't get very often, and
That is
was
very
like,
true.
I'll just do that.
Yeah, Shanghai Masters, A-list celebrities,
Exactly.
the new US Open.
Maybe in the
Hopefully
future.
not. Yeah, now we can jump back in.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So I mean, for the first round, like the round of 128, I think the only really interesting matchup was the matchup like of generations where Wawrinka played Impeshi Pericard, the young French guy, and it was interesting because it was a very close match. Wawrinka ended up getting it done in I think two tiebreak sets, but
Hmm.
he's just like he's so much older than him, and it's just funny to see that matchup where it's like one guy at the very beginning of his career and one at the very end.
Yeah, and then what's even funnier is the guy at the very end prevails.
Exactly.
Someone almost twice his age, and it's just kind of hey, not yet, buddy. You got to keep that. The
Stay
the
humble.
dad can no longer lose to his or can't lose to his son type of thing.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, no, it was also pretty interesting because you said it was across like, multi generations, right? Stands almost 40. Pesci Pericard,
21, I want to say.
21. Yeah. And both of them played with one-handed backhands.
Yeah.
A shot that is, kind of becoming, I don't want to say
Dated.
extinct, but definitely endangered. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Crazy.
it is crazy when you see like these younger players coming up and you're like, uh, who taught him to hit a one-handed backhand? Because in general, it's like it's a much more, I guess, risky shot. It feels like not having that second hand
Yeah.
on the racket seems just to be a negative in general, but I guess if it works for you, it works for you.
Yeah, especially with the return of serve. Like all those one-handers aren't that great at it. But I
Yeah.
wonder if it has anything to do with being a big man too. Like, or I'm just kind of thinking of Eubanks having the one-handed backhand. He's also what, 6'8".
Yeah.
So it could be maybe just
It's a lot easier because if you're really small, taking a one hand,
mhm,
a high one-handed backhand, like that's its big weakness. Is like if it's above your head, it's really hard to hit it effectively, and you kind of have to end up slicing it.
mhm.
And so if you're taller, maybe you just have to hit less of those because it's harder to bounce it up to like
Right,
your shoulder height.
right. All right, how about round of 64?
Yeah. So starting off the round of 64, we had a real shocker, FAA losing to Mueller.
You're
Um, I mean, I may have
jerk.
mentioned this last week, yeah, but it's not a big shock. Like if you look at FAA's ranking, like the breakdown of it, he got so many points for making that final in Madrid. And if he had gotten like a reasonable amount of points, he'd be so much lower in the year-to-date rankings. Actually, he would be below where Jakub Mensik is. He'd be around 49, whereas in the year-to-date rankings,
Wow.
Jakub Mensik is number 48. So this loss, like it seems really bad, but realistically, he's playing kind of consistently at this level.
Yeah, consistently bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even really consistently bad. It's more like consistently mediocre. It's like
Yeah.
maybe he wins his first round match, but rarely does he do a lot better than that.
Yeah, I still can't get over that Madrid complete finesse. What was it, like three walkovers
Exactly. Yeah, he beat
to the
Rude,
final?
which was really impressive, but then like
Yeah,
three walkovers exactly.
crazy route.
And then speaking of other upsets in this round, both Rude and Rublev went out in this round, and this is not good for them because they're both right on the edge of like whether or not they'll make it to Turin, especially because of how well Djokovic did in this tournament. He moved, I think, past both of them, so they're both kind of on the outside looking in for this year.
Ooh, we're completely done with clay, right? Or are there some rogue clay tournaments? Because I could see Rude potentially sneaking in. I just don't know if playing like clay 250s is going to be enough for him to maintain it. He just has to kind of keep playing mediocre on hardcore and he'll do it. Rublev complete toss up. I don't know. I could see one of them maybe making it, but I think the odds of both of them are pretty low. And
Yeah,
I don't
what it really looks like right now is like they're 7 and 8, and so
mhm.
it's like they do have a decent number of more points than the other guys that are like right on the edge there, but it's like if they don't play, if they keep going out in like early rounds and other guys do make a good run, anything can happen still.
Yeah, and my thought process is the guys who are right on the edge, right behind him, Deminar and Dimitrov, they're not hot right now either. So I feel like, this could be better for him, or like someone below Dimitrov and Deminar can end up making it over Rublev.
Like a Tommy Paul or someone.
I mean, yeah, that'd be ideal. Is he next? Is he
I think he's like number
12?
11 or 12. Yeah,
12? Yeah. Could be.
we'll see. We'll see. But moving on to the round of 32, we had Tiafo going out to Safilin. I mean, kind of backs up his ranking. Round of 32 isn't terrible, but the big thing about this match was the drama. So late in this match, Tiafo had, I believe, gotten a warning for time violation on his serve already. And at like 6-6 or 5-6 in the tiebreak, the third set tiebreak, Tiafo was low one time and he walked up to the baseline to do his serve and kind of tossed the ball up with like a lot of casual nature. Like it really didn't look like he had any intention of hitting the ball. And he catches it and then like kind of moves around a little bit and he gets a time violation called on him. And he freaks out on the chair umpire, like, oh, I tossed the ball. Why is that? That was the start of my service motion. The clock should have reset or whatever. And I'll be honest, I side completely with the ref here, because or the umpire, because it really didn't look like Tiafo had any intention of hitting the ball. It seemed like he was trying to game the system and just didn't. So that was a wild situation there where he just got tried to game the rules and it didn't work out for him.
Yeah, well, you didn't even get to the best part.
Oh
How
yeah,
about
and then
after the
after the
match?
match, oh my
Yeah.
god, just completely cursed out the ref. Absolutely insane. Just like, oh, you just screwing me over essentially. I don't want to go into the real profanity there, but
Yeah. A lot of F bombs. Let's just put it that
exactly,
way. I think
exactly.
he hit like 10 F bombs in 2 minutes.
Pretty nuts.
And it was directed towards the umpire too. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't like, oh, F. It was F you. You completely effed me, man. Are you
exactly.
effing serious? F you.
Yeah.
So
It's just nuts. Like I don't get why he would do that. Just no class.
yeah, he's gonna be hit with some fines. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Just doesn't like the more and more I see Tiafo play, it just seems like he's just not a classy player. And it's like, I guess some players just aren't, and you just have to understand that about them. And I don't think it's really something that is not, I don't think it's an insult. I think it's just a statement of fact.
Yeah. I think I get the whole fake toss thing. Like it is kind of a way players can game the system, but to blatantly fake the toss, like
Exactly.
you have that coming. At least if you're gonna do it, put some effort
Yeah.
into
Make it
it.
look like it's real.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, that
But
was
too
really,
bad.
yeah, the only noteworthy match I think from this round, unless you saw another one.
No, that drama just basically caught my attention from the round.
Yeah, but then speaking of that drama, in the next round, we had a Tsitsipas with very similar drama in his match against Medvedev. He got called for a time violation, and he goes up to the chair umpire and is like, "Oh my gosh, you guys only call this stuff against me." And the chair umpire goes, "Well, I guess you just don't watch a lot of tennis or something like that." In response, and it's true because literally the exact same thing happened to Tiafoe the day before or something like that. So pretty funny that Tsitsipas would say that, and just a funny situation.
Yeah, Tsitsipas' reaction was way more like a baby. Like Francis was like an outburst, whereas Stefanos was kind of like a child toddler
A little bit more
complaining.
whining.
Yeah, whining. That's the word, whining, exactly. And part of me, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like he could have done this as a tactical complaint, kind of like what Runa has done in the past, where he's playing Medvedev, a guy who, tends to kind of pull these antics as well. And I think maybe like since he was down, he tried to get in Medvedev's head, stall the match because he sat down on the bench and wouldn't play until the supervisor came out.
Yeah, just like I want a break, so I'm just gonna complain
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah. But so his loss brings the head to head now to 10-4. And Medvedev's beaten him the last 3 times. So like these are guys coming up, supposed to be the next gen, and not much of a rivalry here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it really seems like Medvedev. I mean, Zverev too, but it's like those guys are just they're the big two from that generation, kind of, but they're still not at the same level as the Sinners and the Alcaraz.
Yeah. I still get juiced up every time Medvedev and Stefanos play, just in case like a repeat of the Miami Open.
Yeah, but I
Like
think I think Tsitsipas put something out about how like they're not. It's not really like a right.
there's no
They're not.
beef.
Yeah, there's no beef exactly.
Gotcha. Well, they did. There was also some beef after. I remember where I think Stefanos hit a dance. Like, remember that dance after he beat Medvedev? And then the next time they played, Medvedev hit like a stupid dance to kind of mock
Yeah,
him.
no. I think that was when the beef was active, but I think the comment
Yeah.
about it was more recent. Like Tsitsipas put something out and was like, "Hey,
Uh,
sometimes emotions run high, but like I have nothing against him or something like that."
what a bummer. I think beefs are good. Beefs are good for the sport.
Yeah,
It engages the fans.
I mean, it depends on how good the tennis is too, though. It's like if there's a
Yeah.
beef between like two guys that are like number 1,000 and 1,001, a little bit
Yeah.
less interesting.
Yeah, and hotheads too. Like for example, speaking of beefs, I'm thinking of Sinner and Kyrgios. Like I feel like the beef is kind of one-sided there, where Kyrgios has beef with Sinner. So I would
They don't
feel
even
like if
play though. There's like that's
right,
not great for the sport because they don't play.
right. But imagine this: someone can capitalize on an exhibition match between them, where they can kind of squash that beef. But I feel like Sinner just wouldn't really engage at all. It
Yeah,
would mostly be Kyrgios pulling antics on court.
yeah. It wouldn't be that like as much of a draw. I mean, I guess it would have a draw because it would be like Kyrgios, the entertainer, and like the best player in the world.
Right.
But the beef, I don't think would be on like
Yeah.
center stage in that scenario.
Yeah. No, I'd be Sinner has everything to lose playing against Kyrgios there because
Yeah.
Kyrgios is a freaking talented player. Like who's capable of beating,
I mean,
upsetting
maybe
people.
is he? Is he really? We can't tell. He played like one exhibition match in the last 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess like in the
Former
past, he's
Kyrgios, yeah,
former upsetter.
hundred
He's beat
percent.
all the big three
That's true. That's true.
in their primes, or at least closer to their
Kind of,
primes.
kind of. But yeah, so up next we have Goffin upsetting Zverev. Uh, honestly, just a great run from him. He beat Musetti, Giron, and then Zverev here. And honestly, like this guy's only 33 still. So I'm wondering, like, could he maybe return to the top still? Like we saw Dimitrov kind of make that resurgence, and Goffin was really great like 5 or 6 years ago, I want to say. And then think had an injury of some kind of fell off, hasn't been the same since. But this is a great run from him, and I'd like to see what he can do in the future.
Only 33. I guess that
I
play
mean,
expectancy is going up.
100%. I mean, you think look at Djokovic last year, right? He was what 36, and he won
I
three
think
Grand
he's an
Slams.
anomaly.
He's an anomaly, but what I'm saying is like there's still like hypothetically more to come from a guy at 33. And you saw the same thing from Dimitrov. Like I said, like there are guys that are older that can find success. Cilic won that tournament a couple weeks ago. Hasn't really done anything since he won that tournament,
Yeah, yeah.
but still he was able to play at that high level for a little bit there.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see more of like a Cilic versus Dimitrov comeback because, like you said, he did very well before 2017. He got to number 7, and he was the runner-up at the year-end finals there. So he has potential, or he's a great player. And it was funny. I was watching all these old Federer highlights just bored the other day, and a lot of them were from Golfin.
Yeah. No,
Um,
Goffin beat Federer in that year-end finals in a year which Federer had like one of the best seasons of his career and came back and won 2 slams after being injured and just gets ended by Goffin. It shows how good of a player he is.
yeah, no, great player. I just don't think that he might win like a 250 title or make a deep run in a Grand Slam. I don't think he's like resurging his career. I
Mm,
think he's gonna have one more like sprint.
okay.
We will follow him though. Hopefully he does.
100%. Yeah. But in other news, Fritz versus Rune was in this round, and Fritz kind of clobbered him, to be honest. Like, I think it was 1-2. And in terms of like a run from Runa, it was not bad making the round of 16. Like, it's not great, but it's not terrible. But it is bad to see him get destroyed like this. And it kind of shows that he's, at least this year, pretty far separated, it seems like, from some of those top guys.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Fred's just put on a ball striking masterclass. So I feel like for Runa, like Fritz played so well and he lost very badly in that first set. And then once he got broken first service game of the second set, he was kind of just checked out. He was like, all right, this match is over. I just think it wasn't as much as like Runa completely shitting the bed. I think Fritz played really well and thus turned Runa into like, all right, I'm not even really competing anymore in this.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think that's a difference between like some of these young guys and you look at like the big three. Is like Nadal, no matter what, he was playing every point like it was the only thing
Mhm.
that mattered in his life. And on the other side, you have Runa, where he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to win this match, so I'm not even going to try for this last little bit."
Yeah, yeah, I know. And Fritz, he looked so calm out there too. Like he's such a laid back California guy, sitting back on the baseline, just ripping winners.
And I also think with Fritz, like just the pressure, like it's one of those things I think in tennis where like the higher pressure you felt, the less pressure you feel in the smaller moments, right?
Mhm.
It's like, okay, you've played in a final of a 500. Now a semifinal in a 250 feels like a lot less pressure. You've played in you've won a Masters 1000. Now the third round at a Grand Slam doesn't feel like as much pressure, right? It's like
Yeah,
now Fritz, he's played in a Grand Slam final. Every match now, it's like I know what the maximum pressure can feel like. Every match below that is like, yes, there's pressure, but it's a lot easier to kind of be like, this doesn't matter as much as maybe other matches in my career.
Wow, that's a great point. And I feel like it just snowballs too. So like the more grand slams, the more finals you're in, the more confidence you just have in the lower ones too. Like, yeah,
100%.
like this pressure.
Yeah,
It's a
it's like
great way to
Fritz
put
is
it.
like, okay, this is a round of 16 in a Masters 1000. For
Mhm.
some guys, it's like, holy shit, this is maybe the best I'll ever do in my career. For him, it's like, I know that I've played in much bigger matches than this.
Yeah, and this was a big win for Fritz too, because Runa beat him at the 2023 Indian Wells, where he actually came back from behind. And this is a tournament that Fritz had won the year before. So he knocks him out, um, can't can't follow up his win, and then gets him here. And he just had all that aggression and anger from last year's Indian Wells, I guess, huh?
Yeah, gets the revenge.
Yeah, revenge tour. I love it though.
I'll move on to the last one here, which was Mensik upsetting Dimitrov. Talked about Mensik a little bit earlier, and was talking about young guys, I think. But I'm just looking at this guy. Like, is Mensik going to be a guy we see in the top 10 in a couple of years? Like, we've talked about him a few times this year. He's made some pretty solid runs, and while Dimitrov hasn't been in crazy good form, it's still a big win for him.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of a Jack Draper. Like he's got a big serve, powerful ground strokes, and he's sneaky athletic for a bigger guy. So I feel like that's a pretty good player comp. And with his playing style, like he's only 20. So if he keeps on this trajectory, I could see him being a top 10 player.
100%, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because we look at guys like this, and it's like, yeah, we've probably seen Mensik more often than like Morojan. Where's Morojan been?
Yeah.
He's been
Yeah, I know.
maybe getting the first round exits, but he's still going to be a threat at some point.
Yeah, he's coming. He's hunting.
Exactly. But anyway, so let's just jump into the quarterfinal here. So obviously, big deal in this round was Alcaraz losing to Mahach. And an interesting thing about this match is it kind of shows just the comparison between someone like Sinner and someone like Alcaraz, where like all credit to Mahach, he played well in this match, but it also shows like this loss from Alcaraz just supports the argument that like he has more of a range of performances that he shows in these tournaments, whereas like Sinner kind of stays higher floor, maybe slightly lower ceiling. Like if Alcaraz plays his best, he can beat Sinner, as we've seen with the 3-0 record this year. But uh, when Sinner doesn't play quite as well, he still manages to get a lot of these wins and like consistently win these tournaments, at least this year. And Alcaraz has had more losses to guys that are a little bit bigger upsets.
Yeah, he's more upset prone. That's a good point. I mean, you've heard him complain about the length of the season before, so maybe it has something to do with that. You know, he only like is ready or like fully rested every other tournament, it seems like.
Yeah. But you got to say, like, Sinner, I think, has played significantly more matches, right? And he
Yeah.
still has less losses than Alcaraz.
Yeah. But everyone's built differently.
100%.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Some crazy stats though, or some stats I wanted to name from this match. So Mahach had 42 unforced errors and Alcaraz only had 20. And Mahach hit 31 winners, whereas Alcaraz only hit 25. So I feel like this backs up the argument you need to play aggressive against these guys if you want a chance to win, right?
Yeah.
Because they're the better player. You have nothing to lose. You might as well go out and rip it.
Yeah. But even there, like, you look at those stats, he had 22 more unforced errors for only 6 more winners.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would kind of almost lean in Alcaraz's favor, right?
Right. But I guess it pays to be risky, at least in this situation.
Yeah. And,
Um,
obviously, when you look at like winner statistics, it doesn't
mhm.
include like forced errors and stuff.
Right, right. So then another one, Alcaraz was 1 for 8 on break points, whereas Mahach was 2 for 4. So wins 50% of break points, you're likely going to win the match.
Exactly. Yeah. It just shows those like
Uh,
winning those critical points.
Well, get ready for this one. Critical points. Ready? So Mahach won 51% of the points.
Yeah.
Like,
Crazy.
God, I love this. I love this sport.
It's that's just
This is
nuts.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. It is truly the game of the smallest margins. Like, I love when they say football is a game of inches. And so, yeah, well, tennis is a game of centimeters,
Yeah. Yeah.
millimeters,
Someone
even.
catches barely outside the line and could determine the match.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Um, the other match that stood out a little bit from this was not because it was a close match, but because it was kind of a beatdown. Sinner dealt with Medvedev pretty handedly, beat him 6-1, 6-4. And just another match where it just didn't look like Medvedev really had a chance. And like we said, I think last week, Medvedev just needs to reevaluate what he's doing if he's going to be able to beat these top two guys.
Yeah, I mean, really nothing to say here. I think we kind of covered it last week.
Yeah. And then these last few rounds, honestly, nothing really stood out to me in these last few matches. I mean, obviously, we haven't really talked about Djokovic in this tournament yet, but he won all of his matches. That's all there is to say. He had a close match, I think, with Mensik where he dropped the first set, but other than that, he had a relatively close match with Fritz that went 2 sets, but was like 6-4, 7-5, or 7-6, and then a similar score with Sinner and Mahac where it was I think 6-4, 7-5, and so two matches where the loser didn't play poorly, but the it kind of went as expected.
Yeah, and it was funny because remember we were seeing him early in the tournament like get pushed by Mickelson, and then he had a close match with Mensik. So it's just like you were kind of waiting for the eventual, all right, Djokovic is going to lose sooner or later, but didn't happen till the final.
Exactly. And then like you said in the final, Sinner takes it, and it was kind of similar to those semifinal matches. Like Djokovic didn't play super poorly. It was close, but it still
Mhm.
was only 2 sets, didn't go to a third. And honestly, I would have been very shocked if Djokovic had won it because Sinner just seems to be on a different level this year. And
Yeah.
funnily enough, Djokovic still has no ATP titles this year. Like he won the Olympics, but of the ATP events he's played, hasn't won a single one, and it's just crazy. Like after 3 Grand Slams that last year, no titles this year.
Yeah, crazy to me that to him that's a bad year, whereas any other player would be happy to have those results.
I mean, same thing with kind of Medvedev, right? Medvedev's had no titles this year, but he's the
Mhm.
number 5 guy in the world. How many
Yeah.
guys would be stoked with that?
Yeah, no, plenty, plenty. If he didn't get that gold medal though, I don't think we're seeing I think we're seeing a Djokovic who's like more hungry to get titles, to win titles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would have seen a depressed Djokovic if he lost that gold medal.
I feel like he's too mentally strong to get depressed.
Maybe. But anyway, you ready to hop into segments?
Yep, let's do it.
Alrighty. What's new in tennis? What'd you see this week?
So I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal, and I was reading the Wall Street Journal for like business news, and I see an article headline: "The turf war between tennis and pickleball is escalating." So obviously, this immediately grabs my attention. And in there, the USTA said that at least 10% of tennis courts have been taken over and repurposed for pickleball. And this reminded me of an instance that I saw firsthand last week. So I was in Greenwich, Connecticut on work, and I spotted a very nice public tennis court, and I went over to go check it out because I love, nice tennis courts, wanted to see it. And I get closer and I see four pickleball nets on the tennis court and just lines painted everywhere. You couldn't even make out like the tennis lines on there. And it was just depressing, very depressing to see,
Yeah, and
and
speaking on
serious
this,
issue.
I'm
Mhm.
actually back in my hometown right now, and I went to a court that I used to play at as a kid, and like it had been not just like painted over, but actually fully changed
Oh,
from tennis courts to 4 pickleball courts.
fully converted. Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
so we're seeing it in real time. It's not just a stat that you're reading anymore. It's not like, oh, this like, this war between tennis and pickleball. Like, no, it's actually impacting us now. And Djokovic brought this up over the summer after Wimbledon. He said tennis courts will be converted to paddle and pickle if we don't do anything about it. And that's like the quintessential person of the sport speaking out on the issue too. And I want to leave you guys with this quote. It's participation is not zero sum, but the court space is.
yeah,
Because that was the USCA before a couple years when pickleball was growing, like crazy. They weren't really concerned. They thought it was a good thing. They were basically thinking, hey, like anyone picking up a racket and learning is good. Maybe this would be a good entryway into tennis, right? Because it's easy
yeah.
and anyone can play it and it like sparks interest. But now I think the issue is starting to become when it comes to courts, because tennis is gold. They want to grow the sport. They want to hit 35 million people playing tennis in the US by, I think, 2029. And how are you going to do that when the amount of tennis courts is shrinking?
A lot of tennis courts are shrinking, and like people that may have started to play tennis are like, why would I try to play the really tough sport when I can play the
Mhm.
one that's way easier?
Yeah. Now, once again, I don't have super strong feelings against pickleball, but if it starts to impact me personally, then I will start being a dick. Because before I was also like, yeah, it gets people moving, it gets people outside. It's, a good beginner sport. But and then we had Sam Querrey on, so we can't
Yeah.
shit talk pickleball too
Yeah, we
much.
just don't want it infringing on our tennis rights.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, man, what did you see this week?
I saw that this German, Justin Engel, he's the first player born in 2007 or later to win an ATV match. So he's the first guy or youngest guy since Alcaraz did it at age 16. And I think it's just crazy whenever you see a young player do this. Just nuts, honestly. Like this dude's only 17 and he's actually already ranked in the top 500, which is crazy. Like you can get that many points already without even having to play in an ATP tournament. But just a name to keep an eye on, Justin Engel. So we'll see what he's able to do. Maybe he'll be one of the guys in the top 10 in the next 5 years.
Yeah, yeah, definitely on track to. But sometimes the early success, it tends to kind of like, I guess, screw up a player's development because maybe they
Could be.
get too cocky early on. I don't know. We'll see.
Hold
But
the
yeah,
Luna.
yeah. I remember you reported on Luca Van Ash. Remember
Yeah.
when he was young? I feel like we haven't talked too much about him right now.
I mean, he's still, I think, kind of sitting top
Hmm.
100 or top 150, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, when we record our 300th episode, maybe we'll be talking about Justin Angle. I was like, oh yeah, remember we talked about him a couple years ago.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, how about bet of the week?
Bet of the week. I kind of took a cop out emotional bet here. I'm taking Shevchenko minus 120 over Karatsev. My thought process here, he's 1-0 against him, and Karatsev is at the end of his career, whereas Shevchenko is just getting started. And Karatsev is only 2-9 this year. Not a lot of tennis and even less winning, whereas Shevchenko is coming in at 19 and 26. So hoping he will get a win there, and I'm super pumped to watch.
So 2-9, is that tour level matches or like total matches?
No, that's only tour level. So he's been playing a few like qualies and challengers, but
Okay.
this is, yeah, tour level.
Sounds good. But well, I mean, this is a tour level match, so 2-9, not a great
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
percentage.
Right. So who are you taking this week?
I'm going with Fucsovics plus 185 over FAA. I mean, like I said, FAA has kind of had a misleading year in terms of the rankings. And while he still probably is the better player, I wouldn't be surprised if Fucsovics got the win. So, as per usual, kind of just praying on FAA's downfall.
Yeah, easy money. I like this
Exactly.
bet.
Exactly.
Vucevic is gonna whip his shirt off and flex on him after the match.
Exactly. How about match of the week?
So match of the week, I took Sinner beating Shelton 6-4, 7-6, and I picked this match. Like it wasn't the greatest match of all time, but it was definitely a match that I was looking forward to watching because this is like the next generation of studs. Sinner's already there. I feel like Ben is like getting to be one of the top players. They're both similar ages. And Ben had beaten him at this tournament last year. And I thought he could do a little more damage with his serve, maybe try to neutralize Sinner. But, Sinner handled his serve pretty fine. But this match was just filled with amazing points and very fun to watch. And I'm excited for their future matchups.
100%. And you know what's funny is like that was right. He kind of beat him at the perfect time because it was right before Sinner really
Yeah.
started to become unbeatable.
Yeah. I think his head to head, I think he's like 1-4 against Sinner.
Yeah, but he timed it well.
Yeah, exactly. How about you? What was yours?
I went with Goffin, but not with his match against Zverev, but his match against Musetti because
Ooh.
it was kind of more back and forth, and Goffin ended up coming back. So in the first set, Musetti kind of just demolished him. It was a 27-minute set. He beat him 6-1. And
Jeez.
then in the second set, Musetti went up a break, broke him at 2-2 in the second, and even consolidated it before Goffin managed to break back and kind of come back into the set. But what really stood out about this second set was that Musetti ended up having 5 more break points in the set and was unable to convert, whereas Goffin had no more break point opportunities. So if Musetti had managed to get that break back, he was holding his serve pretty easily. But then with close tiebreak and went kind of back and forth, both of them got a few mini breaks, and in the end, Goffin broke at 7-6 or 6-7 to win it 8-6. And then they went into this final set, and it was kind of back and forth early with some breaks, but Goffin ended up getting a little bit of momentum, got a couple of breaks, and ended up winning the set 6-2. But even in this third set, Musetti had a break point in 3 of Goffin's third set service games, 3 of 4. The only one he didn't was in that last one when he was serving at 5-2 to close it out. And he didn't get any of them. Or he got one of them, I think. So he had 2 games where he had a break point, didn't get it. And so if you look at the break point breakdown, after the first set where he was 2 of 2 on break points, he was 2 of 13 in the second 2 sets. So it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier with it being a game of inches, and like Mahach getting 2 of 4 break points against Alcaraz. If you go 2 of 13 on break points, you're probably not going to be able to win the match.
Oh yeah, I know. You got to capitalize. You can have 2 break points and go 1 for 2, and you can have 13 and go like 2 for 13. Having the break points doesn't matter. It's just as long as you execute them.
Exactly.
But that's funny. You said the first set was 27 minutes.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I saw over the weekend Bernard Tomic like broke the record for fastest lost like on the tour level, or it was in a challenger, but basically like an ATP match.
How fast was it?
We'll say 27 minutes
for the whole
28 minutes.
match?
Yeah, that's what it was, like 0-1.
That's crazy.
I know. So
he must have just given up like very
totally,
early on in the match.
Totally. He's known for that too.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, and that's the show. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Painting Lines Podcast. Feel free to shoot us a DM or email us any questions or thoughts at paintinglinespodcast@gmail.com.